And we're live.
Hey, everyone.
Hello. Lindsay sounds so enthusiastic.
I'm tired all of a sudden.
Hey, guys.
How's everyone doing? Another Friday night.
I know.
At least for us in the US, it was only a 4-day work week. And I think in the UK too, so that's good. Went by quick.
4-day work week that seemed like took 7 days.
No. I don't know why I always get really thrown off on days or weeks where we have Monday off because my week is, the same meetings occur on the same days every week. And when Monday's not there, Tuesday I show up thinking I have Monday's meetings, and then I get surprised by them that, oh no, it's Tuesday's meetings today. Golly, I didn't get ready for them because yesterday
I'm unprepared all week.
I'm unprepared all week. Exactly. Oh, hey, keep Alberta Rollins with us.
Hey yo.
Hey yo, hey Brock. I assume it's Brock. Maybe it's.
I assume.
Betty. So our plan for tonight, as Jill's tweet alluded, is to just kind of go over, for those who may not know, kind of what the difference is between the fight that we're in now and the fight we had for season 4, and kind of go through some of the frequently asked questions that we got when we put the tweet out, and then kind of go through where we're at, what we're planning to do, what we think is coming down the pike, timeline, which who knows what's going on, but we just wanted to do our best to explain to people who might not understand how this is different from the last fight, and also maybe, put a little fuel in our tanks and make it fun to be fighting for our show and not feel like such a chore. So, Jill, I think you're kicking us off, right?
Yeah. Be impressed with us. We came up with an agenda. I mean, wow. Professional. So I'm going to throw this disclaimer out there, and we will probably repeat it fairly frequently so that it's very clear that we don't have any inside information. Like, everything that we're saying is kind of our experience with previous fights and our experience with this particular show, and sort of reading between the lines and some things that we see. So it's not, if we say something, don't take that as gospel. Take that as our read and our take on the situation.
Educated guess.
Educated guess based on 4 or 5 years of experience fighting for this particular show, and such. So, so the biggest question that we get asked is, should we keep fighting? That is like at the top. Should we keep fighting? And the answer is unequivocal. Yes, we should. There are a couple of main reasons. Well, the main reason is it's not over yet. Like, it's not a done deal. It's not like it can't happen. It still very much can happen. And in fact, one of the things that we were sort of realizing is that the show has only been off the air for about 6 weeks. Is that right?
A month and a half, yeah.
And so while we feel like we have been fighting since February, and that's how long, in our minds we're like, it's starting to feel like a really long time, and it is a really long time. But for the producers and mostly the producers who are trying to sell the show, it's only been 6 weeks that this has been off the air, and really only 6 weeks since they've been able to shop it around, is my guess. So to us, it feels long, but really in the grand scheme of fighting for a show, it hasn't been that long, really. And so we shouldn't lose faith. We shouldn't feel like nothing's happening, even though, we're going to feel like nothing's happening because we always feel like nothing's happening, but that doesn't mean that things aren't happening. So definitely we do need to keep pushing. We do need to keep fighting. And the other thing is, I keep thinking, there are times, in my darkest hours, and I go, can I do this anymore? And I go, the only other option is to give up, and that's just not in Alberta nature to give up. It's just not something that we have in our DNA. And lastly is, I truly believe that that we will be told, if there is no hope, I truly believe we will be told that. We will not be asked to continue to fight, or even just allowed to fight while people stay silent, even if there's no hope. I really believe we'll be told, and we haven't been called off. And as such, we just keep going forward. And yes, if people say, is it worth fighting? Absolutely, it's continuing to be worth fighting. And networks will, if they haven't already noticed, they will notice if we completely go away, and they're like, well, finally they've given up, and we'll be like, no, biatches, we're still here. So that was that's sort of the pep talk of like, keep going. Yes, it's worth fighting for. And this is a little, the timeline feels like a long time for us, and it has been a long time that we've been putting in a lot of effort. But we're going to talk a little bit in this. I was about to say meeting, because I feel like
thank you all for gathering here today.
About how maybe we're going to change it up a little bit to keep it, keep it a little fresh, and inject some more fun, so it doesn't feel like a chore. And it shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel fun. We want to keep it that way. So that is my little pep talk. And sorry, I just alt tabbed and to a place where Churros is playing on repeat for some reason. So Kevin or anybody else want to add? Oh, wait. There was one more point. You were going to cover why this fight is different, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kevin?
No. You leading into Lindsay? I'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, we can jump to that one. How this fight is different than the last one. So, a lot of folks have joined us. They're pandemic erpers, so they've joined us in the past. Yeah, they joined us in the past year. So maybe they weren't here when we were doing the fight for Wynonna for season 4. In that instance, season 4 had already been greenlit, and we had gone through, I think it was like an entire summer after season 3, believing that we didn't have to go through this again because we were getting our season 4. And then we reached the end rows of 2018, I guess it was. And, people began to notice that, the writers weren't back in the writer's room. And then we got to January and nobody was headed to Calgary. There were no red-haired pictures being posted, nothing of that nature. So, I think before we got the, waving of the attention flag, I think folks generally were starting to feel uneasy about what was happening with season 4. And then on February 21st, 2019, there was a tweet sent out, and it didn't last very long. It was up for maybe 5 minutes. That, kind of indicated that something, yes, indeed was happening, and that we needed to get ready to fight to keep the season 4 that we had already been promised.
And I'd like to chime in here. Obviously, it was Emily that put the tweet out and deleted it, but she had that tweet posted for 5 minutes. And on a Thursday night, #Fight for Wynonna outtrended Grey's Anatomy on Twitter. That's the kind of bomb that was dropped. I just want to put that out there because that blew my mind that night.
Yeah.
And we had no idea why we were going to need to fight.
We're just like, what are we doing? What are we fighting for?
Right. I remember, just to add to that, I remember we had no idea why we were fighting. No clue. And in fact, I went back recently, looked at my tweets from that night, and people were like, why are we fighting? What's going on? And all of us were like, no idea. Just fight. Go.
Yeah.
I think Greg Lawson came on and he just said, why is everybody fighting? And we're like, we don't know, Greg, but we are fighting.
I remember tweeting at like 5 minutes to midnight. Okay, the fightforwynonna.com domain is set up. Nothing there yet, but stay tuned.
Yeah.
We just knew we had to mobilize, I mean, that's
no clue what was going on at all.
And that was, that was a Thursday night. So that bled over into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we still really didn't quite know what was happening. And I think it was a few days before we finally got some information that there were some funding problems with IDW, and that, that's where kind of the disconnect was. And it was really kind of uncertain as to whether season 4 was going to happen. And so we thought, it ended up
for
being...
people who don't know IDW's role in how this all works, do you want to maybe just explain what IDW is?
So IDW is the company that basically owns the rights to Wynonna Earp. So they owned the rights to the comic that Bo Smith produces and writes, and then they owned the property of Wynonna Earp. And so they provided not all of the funding, but some of the funding for the production of the show. And so when they found themselves in financial difficulties, for whatever reason, they decided that Wynonna Earp was going to be the show that they might back burner. I have a lot of things to say about that, but I won't say that here. So anyway, so for the first, couple of weeks of that fight, once we kind of figured out what was going on, the first couple of weeks to a month of that fight, we had a lot of kind of cast member interaction, supporting us, supporting the fight, saying, we see you, fight for Wynonna, all of those things. And then, there came a time when all of that kind of went quiet. And at that time, we had a lot of folks saying, well, what's happening? Is something bad happening? Emily's no longer tweeting about it. The cast is no longer tweeting about it. Well, we kind of got the impression that they might have been told not to. And that could be for any number of reasons. You can kind of think of it this way. If I, Lindsay, work for this company and this company is experiencing some sort of trouble, it's not a great look for me personally to run out and stand on a street corner with a sign and saying, my company sucks, you need to fight to keep my job. So when you look at it that way, Emily put her career on the line to say what she did initially. And then the cast members jumped in to support and really put their future employability on the line as well. So there came a point where, this group of folks have to think about their own livelihoods. They've got families to feed, they've got careers and jobs that they would like to keep for the foreseeable future. So they kind of went quiet. We did always feel like, or most of the time felt like they did see what we were doing. They just weren't necessarily able to chime in. So how is that related to this fight? This is kind of the roundabout way of getting to it. So this fight is different in the fact that we originally had season 5 contracted through SciFi. So the funding was in place, the deal structure was in place, IDW is on board, 724 is on board, everybody's on board. SciFi, through their restructuring and whatever else is going on over there, suddenly decided that, no, we're not doing that anymore. And so they're the ones who pulled the plug this time around. So it's not necessarily, or it's not 100% a funding issue at this point. So how this fight is drastically different is that we're looking for a network to bring Wynonna Earp season 5 to air in the United States. So the Canadian partners are still on board. The funding from them is still there. There's just no longer an airing body here in the United States. And so without the funding that particular company provides, and without the platform and the airing, then there is no season 5 of Wynonna Earp. And so this time around, that's what we're trying to kind of strong arm people into, to providing us a platform for the airing of this next season. So whereas in the fight for Wynonna, we had a focal point where we could kind of point our ire, we don't necessarily have that now. We just kind of tweet into the wind and hope somebody's paying attention and hope somebody wants to take a chance on this crazy little show and this crazy little fandom that we've cultivated over the course of the last 5 years or so. So that's really the biggest difference. And I think that while it's kind of a nuanced difference, it's important, where it's not just this one, it's not the people that own Wynonna Earp that say, no, we're not doing it. It's just a matter of finding somebody that's willing to take a chance on it and air it here in the United States. So,
and there was a question in the chat. Again, I feel like I'm in
Moderator Jill.
Moderator Jill. the question was, why can't they air it on Canadian TV? And the answer is they are. CTV, what is the Canadian? It's a.
I think it's CTV now, right?
It's Science. There is a Canadian
somehow.
There is a Canadian network that is airing it. But they really needed a U.S. distributor.
Maybe this will help too. So IDW owns Wynonna, also is involved in the production. 724 is kind of, driving the real production of it. And then SciFi is airing what they produce, right? So last time when IDW had money troubles, SciFi actually stepped up and said, all right, if you need a lead funder to fund the production of this show, we're going to step up and we're going to help out and we're going to get this show made. So imagine the leading funder of the show pulling the plug this time around, where it's not necessarily that we could just, it's not the kind of production that you could just air in Canada and that's going to make everybody money and make everybody happy. It needs to have the US distributor to be, I don't want to say worth making, but profitable to make, because at the end of the day, people are in it for the love of what they do, but it's also a business and they have to make money. So that's kind of how I see it too.
And I've seen people, I saw it today, actually. I saw somebody say, well, why don't we just crowdsource the funding for season 5? That's not necessarily the issue here. We could have, I don't want to say all the money in the world because money greases a lot of wheels, but we could have the money. We still just don't have anybody to physically put it on the air. So that's why, it's not a crowdsourcing issue. And the other thing is that some very wise person once said, let the people that have the money make, and that are in this business, do their business. And so it shouldn't fall to a group of fans or a fandom to fund a show when that's what these companies do. So that answers kind of that crowdsourcing question that I saw again today. So, and then let me see, I have my notes. I got to make sure I hit all my bullet points for that one. The other big thing about the difference between the last fight and this fight is the timeline. So Wynonna Earp is a show that writes in the fall, shoots in the very early part of the year, January, February, March into April, and then airs late spring, early summer. That's kind of always been the case. Even if season 5 was in a box and ready to go for this coming year, we still wouldn't air any new episodes until 2022, end of first quarter. So that's, April, May, right in that area. So the timeline in season 4 was kind of more finite because we knew if we couldn't secure that funding within a kind of a protracted amount of time, that it probably wasn't going to happen. And at this point in this cycle that we're in, I've seen some concern about networks having upfronts. And is this ever going to happen if it doesn't happen right now? Well, upfronts are for the television that begins to air in the fall of this year, which was never going to be the case for Wynonna Earp anyway. So the timeline here is kind of stretched into, not infinity, but it's stretched to far more months than just this fall or just, the winter. And so that's kind of where we're at as far as timeline goes. And I know it's ambiguous and I know it's kind of frustrating to be like, this could go on for months, but it really could go on for months.
And I think, as Jill said too, to us, it's gone on for months already. But in the grand scheme of actually being able to sell the show and put it out on the market, the timeline has not been that long.
Right.
So I understand the feeling of like, we've been doing this for so long. Why is no one noticing me? Why are we not getting more back? And it's like, I think people are seeing us, but I don't think that they've had the opportunity until somewhat recently. So I think that timeline is important to think about too.
Yeah. We're on day 119. They're on about day 45.
Yeah. at the most day 45.
Right.
Yeah.
So. And I've been monitoring the chat.
About the chat, Jill.
They're loving the business talk and the
I think most of the baby Earpers probably missed my obnoxiously long finance threads.
Yes. During the fight for Wynonna, so if anybody doesn't know, Kayla is in finance, and during the fight for Wynonna, the IDW, because IDW is a publicly traded company, they have to put out public financial statements. They also have to
hold quarterly board meetings.
Plus quarterly board meetings, and have meetings with their shareholders, because their shareholders, since it's publicly traded, their shareholders deserve to know. So Kayla would get these financial documents and then interpret them for all of us that didn't understand.
And then secretly hack into their
I went out
using my credentials.
Yeah. During the fight, I bought actually 10 shares of IDW stock, just so I could say I'm a shareholder and demand information, which they're like, here are the documents. And I was like, okay, I still don't understand those documents, Kayla. Can you tell me what any of these documents mean? So yeah, it does. And there, a couple people were pointing out how Sanditon had gone on, for 19 months. I don't foresee this fight going on that long, but one hopes not. But yeah, I hope people that they do have some respect for what that fandom did, because I mean, when I was seeing their numbers, I was like, damn, like, you guys go, you've been doing this for over a year.
Respect to the hats.
Respect to the hats. Yeah. Definitely. They brought their A game, and then they got something. So good for them, and it should give us some encouragement that we can keep going. We do have some energy to keep going. Again, we're going to talk a little bit in terms of changing it up a bit, but there is still hope. This is a very different fight, but there is still a lot of hope.
And I want to reiterate too, Lindsay kind of touched on this about how, Emily and the cast seem to be more involved in the last fight. Like, I'm sure we've all seen the panel where, Dominique comes on stage and fight for fucking Wynonna. We saw the cast come to Earp Square and hang out and put up billboards and do this and that. And as Lindsay said, IDW is essentially a comic book company who their pipeline is they take those comics and make them into television series, right? So in terms of the rest of these people's careers, the chance that they're going to come across IDW in any way is much less likely than they're going to come across NBC Universal in any way. So we also have to, and this is purely speculation on my part, but if you think about who they're going up against, they're going up against one of the largest media companies in the world this time. Well, theoretically, in the pub, you know what I mean. If they were to say, well, fuck you, Sci-Fi, that's what they're going up against. Whereas last time they're going up against a somewhat small comic book company. So in my head too, it's kind of like, okay, last time, they played their one card. They said, we're fighting for this show. This is what we're doing. If they did that every time something they worked on didn't make it to screen, didn't get funded, didn't do this or that, they wouldn't have jobs. People wouldn't work with them, right? Like, that's just not how that works. So in my mind, it's kind of like they played their card for the last fight, and they did as much as they can. And this is up to us to push as much as we can, knowing that they see us, but they can't join us. So Laura said, I'll say it for them. Fuck you, Sci-Fi.
Yeah. And you do have to remember, Tim is still employed by Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. He still has a show on that network. Sci-Fi is still his employer. So, as Kayla said, they're just in a really awkward position. That doesn't mean that they don't see what we're doing. It doesn't mean that they don't like what we're doing. It just means that they can't, again, our speculation, they just can't say anything real specific or real loud. So it's up to us to speak
everyone.
And know that they're there cheering us on in the background, but without being able to say it publicly. At least I hope they are.
I hope so.
And I think it's great too that they mention what they can at these online conventions of, I don't think it's over. I have more stories to tell. I'd love to go back and I think to see them all on board and that they want to come back is as much as they can give us. They're like, well, I have more stories to tell. Wink, wink.
Okay, so next topic. We're going to talk a little bit before we go into like the next phase of the fight about why.
Jump in with a couple of thoughts too.
Oh yes, please,
yeah.
Kevin. Anytime.
No, you all were covering it very well. So the only other quick things to add, again, for the sake of scope of all of this of what's happened too, is in the previous fight, the production company that makes your show not having the money to make it while the network still wanted to air it, very unusual. The media found that very interesting and wanted to talk about it. So we did get press coverage for that. The billboards helped to keep the visibility for the show, the billboards in Times Square. That was all as fans that we could do, was to make sure that IDW knew we weren't going away. So they were going to have to figure out a way to make this work, or they would look really bad, as Kayla and Jill and Lindsay pointed out, to their investors as a public company. So that situation is significantly different than nowadays when we're just another canceled TV show. As great as the show is, as amazing as the actors and the writers are, keep in mind, folks, that in 2019 and in 2020, each year, more than 100 TV shows, scripted TV shows, aired their last episode. So we're one of 100. So in that case, it's not very distinctive. It's like, that's not newsworthy. Okay, your show got canceled. That's how the media kind of looks at it. That's too bad. We'll get you a little coverage here or there because you're doing some billboards and helping out communities. But it's a different situation. The last time we as fans couldn't, really make an impression on the company that had to step up and get their stuff in order. This time, it's the producers, 724, trying to find another network in the US to air the show. We as fans have no control over that. Now, I don't mean that in a negative way and that we should all go home and fold our tents. But we can, no matter how many tweets we do, how many cool billboards we do, anything like that, we're not going to make a network air the show. They have to look at the financial side. Kayla and Lindsay mentioned items there. They have to look at the finances so it makes sense. The great thing about having this happen, shall we say, now, as opposed to a few years ago, all the streaming services that are out there. The network upfronts, as you hear about them, when the networks talk about what they have coming in the next cycle in the fall or whatever, it used to be only a handful, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 networks. You couldn't get on one of those, forget it. Your show was never coming back. My goodness, I think there's a new streaming service every week now. So there might be players out there we haven't even heard of. I know folks are asking in the chat, shouldn't we target this service or that service? Go for it. Feel free as fans to mention a certain service. But us all, putting in a 10,000 tweets a day at filling the name of a service is going to make them pick it up. It's the producers. Our job now is very much visibility, keeping the show visible on social media, making any of those networks that the producers might reach out to say, hey, do you want to air our show? And there people go, yeah, let's look into this on social media. Oh, look, their numbers are strong. My goodness, these people are polite. They're nice. We want to have them around. They're not complaining like other show fans do that their network canceled them. They're focusing on what they do well, helping each other out. So we're more in a visibility spot now. So it is definitely different. To myself, and this works for Kevin, I'm not saying it works for everyone. I'm not thinking about this now as a fight because it's not like we have a single opponent. It's a situation where our job is to be visible. So we have a campaign to do, in my mind. We have to keep talking up the show. And I think it also helps because I know I get many messages from folks. Gee, I'm not sure I can keep doing this. Are we ever going to hear soon, like you've all talked about? No, it might not be for several weeks or months. We don't know. How long do the actor contracts last before they'd have to renegotiate with a new provider? We don't know that. But there's got to be a finite time there. We have to wait to kind of see where that might go. And these folks, as we know, when I say these folks, meaning the actors and Emily, the writers, we know how talented they are. Lots of other networks are going to want to gobble them up if they become available. So, there's always that situation of being able to get the cast back together if it should go too long that they have to move on to something else. That's why Emily's talked about potential, movies or something down the line. So long story short in all of this, whether you're putting out a single tweet or Instagram post a day or 1,000, do it because you love doing it. doing it because you're enjoying it. If you think it's too much work, then yeah, it is. It shouldn't be work for you. You know, we're all here to celebrate and enjoy the show. So whatever we might suggest as fans, you know, again, as everybody said, we're just fans. So, you know, you might have a better idea. Let us know. Throw it in. Maybe it's part of what we talk about or do. We're not trying to tell you what to do. We're just trying to hopefully give you some focus and an idea of what could work. But really, the biggest point I want to get across tonight myself, because I'm hearing it in some DMs, because you folks, many of them don't want to say it publicly, is, you know, I don't want to look like a bad fan if I can only do a couple of tweets. You're not a bad fan. You're a great Earper because you care. Whether that's one tweet today and nothing for 3 days. That's why when we do those giveaways, all we ask for is like one tweet in a 4-day period. 5 minutes of your time. And you qualify. And it's the same way here. So please don't feel just because someone else tweets more than you or you're not sure what's happening that you're any less an Earper. You're not, folks. Celebrate the show. And look around at all these people that are here tonight. And Jill and Kayla and Lindsay have worked so hard on some of these campaigns for the last few weeks. Everybody cares. Just enjoy the hell out of it. You know, enjoy it.
Couldn't agree more. And I mean, we may be 1 out of 100 shows who got canceled, but we're 1 in a million, really. So
no doubt there. Just so folks understand, like, how could SciFi cancel us? Or wasn't it a great show? You know, unfortunately, it's the TV landscape. As awesome as the show and the people are, there's a whole bunch of other ones out there they think they can make more money on.
Yeah.
Definitely. Everything what Kevin said, and it, you know, what he mentioned before, also with all these different streaming services. You know, I can imagine. I have no idea, but I could imagine, you know, this glorious day sometime in the future, not too distant future, like hopefully just a couple of weeks or months, where they're like, hey, it's coming back, and they name a service, and we're like, who the hell are they?
Yeah. Okay. They're my new best friend.
Where do I sign up?
Where do I sign up?
Take my money.
That, you know, in terms of, because we get a lot of questions about why the 6 networks that we have been targeting, and we'll talk about that again in a little bit, is because, you know, why not Netflix? Why not? I'm trying to think of, you know. Mostly Netflix is the one we get. Why not Netflix? And one of the main things that we don't is why not Netflix is because we're not going to get Netflix any more subscribers. We're not going to make a splash on their network. This isn't going to be a draw. But you talk about like IMDb or Tubi, which we haven't, you know, talked a lot about, but these are people that nobody has heard of, and if they bring Wynonna Earp on, everybody will have heard of them because we will make sure everybody will have heard of them. So that's why some of these networks that we've been going after are smaller streaming services or are ad-supported networks. IMDb is ad-supported. The CW is ad-supported. I believe Hulu has an ad-supported version because we also are not afraid to be on an ad-supported once-a-week channel. Like in many ways, I would prefer to be on a once-a-week ad-supported channel as opposed to having a bunch of things drop at once and then we don't even get to kind of celebrate them. And goodness knows when the show is on, I need ads to like catch my breath and try to just figure out what the hell is going on and freak out a minute. So we're going after kind of, that's why we chose these people. There are these places that were ad supported for some of them, or new streaming service like Paramount Plus that was trying to make a splash. HBO Max was it seems kind of like a little more prestige television, but they're also very obviously like season 4. That kind of content could more easily be on an HBO Max than on a CW. We're not gonna deny, you know, the language and some of the skin that we saw in season 4 won't fly on the CW, which I think is okay because season 1 through 3 could easily air on that network as it could on any other network. So that's why, you know, we did a lot of research on these on these streaming services and these networks, and it's very possible that that we'll land, you know, if we land somewhere, it'll be on some service we've never heard of. And that's okay too, because as I said, we will make sure the entire world has heard about them the day that they pick us up. So we want to, be a value added and go after things where we believe we could be value added to the network, and not just a tiny minnow in a big pond, which is what we would be at Netflix, for instance.
And I think something else we considered too was the appetite for original content. Like, Netflix doesn't need us. They have original content. They have films, they have shows, they have cartoons, for God's sake. Like, they have everything. A Paramount Plus that maybe is just launching their streaming service and is looking for that original content they can bring to their network. Like Jill said, we'd make much more of a splash in that way than we ever could on Netflix. And I think the way these things go, I mean, it's very possible that they could move Wynonna from US Netflix to another streaming service if we've got season 5 picked up by another streaming service. So I think everything's kind of, it's in flux until it's not.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know until we know.
Yeah.
And I do just want to say just one more little thing on the CW. Not one little thing. I know that there's a lot of angst. The question we get asked the most is, why are we targeting the CW? We don't like the CW. And I know that there's a lot of angst. I know why the angst is there generally. I have a feeling like why it's there. I don't think it's particularly well-founded angst. The CW as a network is, in fact, the most queer-friendly network out there. More characters, a higher percentage of characters on the CW than any other network are, in fact, queer characters. So they are a very queer-friendly network. They don't bury their gays. They buried one very, very, very important gay. And they will be remembered for that, and they should be remembered for that. We shouldn't forget that. But on the other hand, it's not something that network does over and over and over again. They just don't. They're also a very genre-friendly network, extremely genre-friendly network.
Yeah.
So, like, Wynonna Earp would truly fit right into that, into their kind of brand. I really feel like we would perfectly fit into their brand. And they're losing a couple of shows. They're losing a couple shows that they're going to want to keep that audience there. And they've just expanded to 7 days of programming, which is, again, as Kayla brought up, like, people that need content. CW is going to be a channel that needs content. So I know that there's a lot of angst about that, but I just wanted to say that we did think a lot about that network because of the angst surrounding it, and we still think it was, it would be a good fit.
Yeah, and I think another point is that the network is buying what the producers are selling. This is a show in its 5th season. If they don't like seasons 1 through 4 and they're not down, they're not going to pick it up. So to say that they're going to ruin our show or they're going to do this and that, I mean, yes, the network does have influence, but why would they buy a show that they're not behind? If they're not down with seasons 1 through 4, they're not going to buy season 5. And if they're going to change season 5 into a different show, I truly don't think that Emily and the producers would go down that path. I don't think that they would. So I think, I don't know, it's just something else to consider too, is trust the people whose jobs it is to make this happen, that it's going to happen. Because I do, honestly.
Yeah.
And you have to remember too that networks, like Kayla said, networks buy content and put content on the air that fits into their framework. And if you're unhappy, for the most part, if you're unhappy with the way a show is going, it's generally not the network. It's generally the writing staff of that particular show. So if you're unhappy with the way, I will give you a personal example. I watched The X-Files for 11 seasons that it aired. At the end, the last 2 seasons of The X-Files, to me, it was very clear that the writer of The X-Files cared very little about the character of Dana Scully. And yet, I still watched because I've been watching it for 20 years. But that was not on Fox. That was on the writer who was writing that character. So any disdain that I felt coming through the screen for that particular character is laid strictly upon his shoulders and not the Fox network. I think the same can be said for a lot of the things that have happened on the CW. Like Jill said, they will be remembered forever for killing one very important gay character, but that wasn't the CW. that was the people that wrote that show. And so for us to judge them so harshly based on that one thing, saying, well, it's their fault, it's not their fault. And we need to be willing to give these networks a chance. There's another network that a lot of us are watching right now that maybe we thought we would never give a chance. And yet here we are watching it. Here we are, whether we believe it ourselves or not.
I was going to say, there is a network that has been openly hostile to the queer community for a very long time and fairly recently. But here we all are wearing ties on Sunday. So, I think we need to understand that, the networks, if they're willing to pick up the show, they're going to put the show on the air.
Exactly. Here we are with our bow ties on Sunday nights. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to believe that the producers, since this is their job to produce and sell a show, they're looking at every possible network out there, folks. So whichever ones we like or don't like, whichever ones seem to be a good fit based on what we might be thinking, and therefore we choose to tell you folks maybe to focus on them. Again, the producers are the ones that are doing the work. We're just here to keep the visibility up. So it's not like they're going to have 5 or 6 to choose from, and we're going to somehow have an online poll that says pick the network.
Yes.
Now that would be newsworthy.
That'll get us some articles and some press. But yeah, so I mean, whatever they find, whoever it might be, again, Kayla covered it or mentioned it perfectly. We've got our audition is the 4 seasons that are already available. It's the 4 or 5 plus years of fandom, all the articles about the things, positivity in the opportunity, inclusivity. All of that's already there. So it's our job just to keep showing them that even in our tough times, that we're still the same people we were when we had our show renewed. That's what we want to do, show that positivity and being together and having the fun. That's, we're auditioning. We're just not going to hear about it until hopefully after we get that press release that it's been picked up, when that network says, yeah, that fan base is one we want in our corner. We always knew that. And remember, they can't say anything. It's not like we're going to get a status thing. Oh, the contract's 50% filled out. That doesn't happen. It's a whole lot of no news whatsoever. And for those who don't know, back during the quote unquote the fight for, I know in 2019, the 4+ months of all the stuff that was going on, I think, Kayla, you might know, or Jill or Lindsay, I think we got a grand total of 2 tweets out of IDW during that entire time.
Maybe.
Both of which did not acknowledge anything other than to say, we see you folks. We appreciate the passion.
Yeah. We'd love to continue the story in some capacity.
Yeah.
So we go like, do you mean an hour-long 12-episode season? Because that's all we're interested in.
That's the only capacity we're in.
So that's what networks and production companies have to do publicly. So that's why we're never going to hear anything until it's a wonderful announcement of a press release or the other stuff which we might not prefer. So don't take no news as bad news.
Yep. I love this comment. When Kevin talks, I feel like I can accomplish anything. Yes, definitely.
Well, again, it's the 5 years that most of us, certainly here on the video, but in many of you have been around. We've seen this show. I mean, back at the end of season 1, folks, it did not look good to get renewed. Wynonna's ratings for all of the great press have never been strong. We're always towards the bottom of the list from how it's doing ratings wise. So, man, we had to fight and claw to get that first season renewal and from there too. So we're used to having the odds stacked against us, and you just have fun, do what you do, and hopefully it makes it happen.
Absolutely.
All right. Speaking of having fun.
Yeah, and just to make Laura in the chat happy, even though I haven't said it yet, yes, this is very fucking important to me. And it's very important.
Yes,
It's also very important that we all have a fucking great time doing it, all right?
Oh, I'm amped now. Wow, look, I could lift a car.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. And please give kudos to certainly, like I said, Lindsay, Kayla, Jill, and many of you that have been active on Twitter and campaigns to to organize rewatches and to get billboards and all these other things. These are all ERPers just saying, what can I do? And doing something. That's what this fandom has been since day one. It's that collection of souls and all of us trying to work for the goal of helping the show. So, whatever you're doing, talking it up or getting friends involved, you're helping. You may not think you're making a big difference, but all of us built together. That's what's kept us going for 5 years. Don't stop now.
Yep.
Chills.
I know, chills, right? I'm ready to go out and put on some lime green shorts and a yellow and black striped shirt and go fight somebody.
I would love to see it, Jill. I'd love to see it.
Cosplay. That's going to be my cosplay con right there. Got to start searching for those lime green shorts. Yeah, so in terms of kind of the next phase and how to inject a little bit more fun into this, Kayla.
Oh, wow. What a seamless transition, Jill. Thank you. So I think the feedback we've gotten, and feel free to tell me in the chat if this is not a correct understanding, but based on the feedback we've gotten, it's fun to yell on Twitter. It's not fun to feel like you have to yell on Twitter. So while putting out these daily themed tweets are fun and give people ideas of new things that they can say, we don't mean these themes to be restrictive of only tweet at this network and only do this on this day and don't tweet anything else but what we're saying. These are just meant to be fun prompts that you guys can use if you need an idea of something to say. But if you have your own idea, we want to incorporate what other people are doing in the weekly calendars we're putting out. So starting next week, we're going to say farewell to our beloved Bring Wynonna Home weekly calendar template. And we're going to start putting out a Google form where people can come in and tell us what events they're planning for the week. So for example, I know there's a rewatch of episode 109 tonight. So, that would go on the calendar and we'd say, see Rachel's Twitter for more information. We're going to do a rewatch of this episode at this time. And the calendar is going to be just more inclusive of what everybody else wants to do, because we're putting out these Twitter themes just as an idea. And I don't want people to think we're putting them in a box of this is what you have to do on this day. We want to know what everybody's doing. We want everybody to be able to have fun and be on the same page. So we're going to rework the calendar. We've got our graphic design guru, Paola, already on the case. So we will still put out, fun ideas for Twitter themes that we can all share and have fun with. But again, have fun with. This isn't like I have to tweet 150 times or they're going to kick me out of the fandom kind of thing. So we just wanted to talk about that. And we'll post some details on Twitter about the Google form and how you can include things like that. But, like tomorrow, for example, we have the billboards in New York that we're going to go out and see. And you guys can tune in and watch that on the Bring Wynonna Home Instagram. Like we'll put that on the calendar. For the bow tie night on Sunday night, if you watch the Good Witch, sorry. I'm a new goodie. So.
The Good Witch.
Yeah. It's not the Good Witch?
I think it's just Good Witch.
Yeah. You got to drop the bug. People are going to know we're fake. But we want to put things on the calendar that might not necessarily be, campaign related, but that are just fun, like enjoying being part of the fandom. So, like I said, we'll put that out on Twitter. And if you have an event or you have an idea or you have something that you want to do, you can throw it out there and we'll put it on the calendar and share that every week so that everybody can see, what kind of events are going on, if there's any live podcasts going on, things like that. We just wanted it to be more inclusive and more interactive and have people have their input in what we're doing too. Because like Kevin said, it's about having fun and enjoying the community that we've built because we're pretty fucking cool. So that is what the plan is starting this week. So I hope the last Bring Wynonna Home weekly tweet themed calendar.
We'll still have daily themes though.
Yeah.
It'll
I'm
just
very
be
excited about next week's daily feed.
Yeah. You can think of it more as like the Bring Wynonna Home social calendar,
Yeah.
not just the theme calendar. So I believe Kayla talked about color coding. So brace yourselves.
Talk about what?
I talked about what?
Color coding.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Our calendars will be color coded
Of course.
because
Why wouldn't they be?
why wouldn't they be?
Yeah. Amazing. Speaking of the rewatch tonight, we have Rach joining us. She's going to put a little plug in for the rewatch.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Everybody clap for Rach in the comments.
Okay, yes, we have the rewatch tonight of 109. I'll be streaming it on Twitch. I think that's all I got for that one. But then I'm super excited to announce more rewatches. We're going to start ERP movie nights. This will be every week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. So every Monday, I'm planning on sending out a poll, just like I do with the episode rewatches. And there'll be like 4 movies in there, not necessarily ERP related, like any movies. And I'll take suggestions. You can DM me. Yeah, and you can DM me, whatever, and then I'll put them in the poll. And then whatever one wins, that's the one we'll watch. And we'll watch the same one on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that way, a lot more people, hopefully internationally, will be able to join on Saturdays.
That's so fun.
Yes.
Movie night. And we will be. Are we encouraging people to use hashtags during movie nights, even if it's not Wynonna Earp?
Yes, I think I'm gonna come up with that. This is very new to me. I was just presented this a couple days ago, so.
Amazing.
Fun.
Well, that's going to be really fun. I'm excited for that because I think we can all geek out together over some movies.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'll start them this coming Wednesday.
Amazing.
Awesome. Thank
and
you.
your name on your screen right now, that's your Twitter handle, right?
Yes.
Rach Surf?
Yep.
Okay. So if you want more details and to follow along with that, you can follow Rach. But we're also going to put things like this on the weekly calendar. So we'll put, the Wednesday and Saturday time blocks for the movie night. Get your popcorn ready, guys. Okay. And then, Rach, am I bringing Emmy on too?
If Emmy's here, yes.
Okay.
I'm here. You told
Go
me to be here.
Emmy.
I'm here. Okay, so me, Rach, and our friend Tay, we're coming up with a campaign to put like a face to the fight because there's so many of us, and there's like so many different ways that this like show has like impacted us. So we're doing this thing called Faces for 5, where you just submit like 2-3 minute video about how you found the show, what it means to you, do whatever you want really, but like it has to be about her. And we're like really excited about it. And it launched today at 9.
It's I think it's my pinned tweet, so you can check that out.
I also
It's
think
also-
it's a pin tweet.
You think so too? Okay.
It's not mine.
I'm really excited for that because I feel like with so many of the new people, I haven't had a chance to see them yet. So these hangouts are like the only time I've actually seen your faces.
Well,
So
we got one submission already today. That's an original song, so we're super excited about that. Yeah.
No
Um,
cutting or
like-
anything.
3 total today, which is
Yeah. We're super
pretty cool to
excited.
say.
That's amazing.
Mine, Rach's, and Tay's already up on the website as like an example of what you could do and what you could say, and we're very excited about it.
That's awesome. And so this is being housed on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Fight for Wine. It's a Twitter account. They're really generous, and we took our idea to them, and they told us that we could use their platform for it. So
Cool.
Awesome. So check out their YouTube channel. You can see some more ERPy faces. I love it. But yeah, so the rewatch tonight is going to start at 10 p.m. Eastern. So that's in approximately an hour. We're going to watch 109. I'm ready.
are you really though?
109? Like, was there
Are you-
anything that happened?
I'm gonna make Rach rewind the first kiss like 4 or 5 times just to mess with everyone.
Yeah. So Rach, I have a question for you. When you're streaming it on Twitch, am I watching the episode on your Twitch, or do I have the episode up
Yeah.
and I'm watching you?
Mm-hmm. It'll be like you don't have to watch it yourself unless you want to. You want to probably, so you can rewind. But yeah, I'll have the episode. It'll be playing, and hopefully everything goes well. It doesn't glitch or anything. It hasn't so far. So
Okay.
We did a few
Awesome.
test runs yesterday, and so far it's good.
Okay. And then where can people find your Twitch?
I think it's in the thread, but I'm gonna tweet it after this. So it'll be probably like my first tweet on my Twitter.
Okay, awesome. I'll keep a lookout for that after this. Cool. I'm excited. Thanks for coming on with us, guys.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime. All right. Have a good night. I'll see you guys for the rewatch.
Bye.
See you guys.
Take care,
Bye.
gang.
Oh, I'm excited for that. 109. I mean, I know nothing happens, but it'll still be a good time.
I haven't watched that one in a while.
Maybe tonight, Lindsay. Maybe tonight's the night.
Yeah, maybe if I don't crash 10 minutes after this.
I was going to say our aim was to keep this at an hour, and we're doing pretty well.
Now, one quick thing to jump in for, again, especially for the newer ERPers, and hopefully you can tell from this conversation, this is all of us. All that great info from Rach and I mean, all that stuff they're doing for the rewatch, the movie night. It's not like this isn't an official fan club. There's no one person or one group deciding about all the fun that's going on. So if you have ideas or things, throw them out on Twitter. Throw them out for discussion from a few of your friends. Reach out, tag some of us to get some more people thinking about it. One of the biggest things that helped during the fight for Wynonna was when one ERPer, and you know where I'm going, Jill, one ERPer decided to put up a billboard in Times Square. This was not a fandom group that put money together. This wasn't some big think tank idea. This was one ERPer who wanted to help that turned into those billboards. And with the New York City ERPers being there to document them, again, the idea of tree falling in the forest, we never would have known without hardworking ERPers to document it. But if Lauren hadn't taken the time to do that and lead to what we have, so you might be sitting on a wonderful idea for something to go on in the fandom. Don't be bashful. If there's ever been a group to be open with and not worry as much about what might happen as opposed to the real world, ERPers are looking for ideas to support each other. So don't hesitate to reach out and talk about things privately if you need to, but also we're all here trying to do the same thing, get the show back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we wanted to come across with using this Google form is anybody can fill it out if you have ideas, if you have something specific planned, if you just want to share something, if you want to bounce ideas off of anyone. Like Kevin said, you can do it with us or you can do it with each other. I mean, you don't need anyone's permission to do what you want to do to fight for your show or to campaign for your show or just to show how much you love it. So I agree with that spiel wholeheartedly.
Definitely. I mean, because what we're imagining also just when we're thinking about this calendar is like we're sort of thinking it's still going to be an image, and Paula it's going to look awesome because Paula doesn't let us put stuff out there. She yells at us if we put stuff out there that doesn't look good. She says, why didn't you ask me to do this for you? Because that looks like crap.
In a loving way.
In a loving way, right.
Sorry about that. Is kind of columns for each day, and we'll have daily themes still across the top, but then every time there's something else going on, a podcast or a rewatch or a movie night or something, that'll be on the calendar. So beginning of the week, you can kind of look and say, oh, hey, the fandom's doing all these things today. I can make the rewatch, but I can't do that. Or I'm interested in doing that. Or, so, and anybody can submit ideas to us to get put on the calendar. So each week we kind of have a game plan of this is sort of what's going on this week and how fun is this. That's sort of the excuse me, the idea. I do want to, because of the New York billboards were brought up, I am asked this a tremendous amount is why we aren't doing that again. And can we do that again? And the answer is no, sadly. The company that we worked through, which is a company called Big Sign Message that owned 3 of the billboards that we used, just no longer there. They're just no longer there. They're no longer providing that service. So for the fight for Wynonna, we got very lucky that it was this sweet spot, that there was a company that did 30-second billboards exactly like we wanted and needed. So unfortunately, no.
And to put it in perspective, to Carrie knows, to get a billboard in Times Square is not easy. It's not cheap. So it could be thousands of dollars to put a billboard up for a couple of minutes. Whereas with Big Sign, we lucked out. Like Jill said, people could put billboards up for $40. That's much more affordable and much more achievable than, collecting thousands of dollars to do this every week. So I think it's just not cost effective without a company like that to constantly be asking people for money. It's just, it is what it is. But that was a great time in that fight. I never thought I'd spend that much time in Times Square voluntarily, but yeah.
Well, another thing is that, yes, we're getting vaccinated and things are getting better, but it's still pandemic times. And so, congregating in large groups is still kind of frowned upon in some high population areas. So
New York City.
Times Square is a high population area?
Yeah, well,
Learn something new every day, Lindsay. Thanks, Will. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man. All right. Well, yeah, I see everyone talking about the billboards tomorrow. So Carrie and Becky have put together a billboard extravaganza for us tomorrow. So I'm thinking we'll probably go live on Instagram at like 2:30 maybe. So 2:30 Eastern time. So if you're interested in tuning in, you can go to the Bring Wynonna Home Instagram page, and we'll be going live from there, and you can join in on some of the fun. But Jill and I will also be tweeting pictures and videos and things like that, and we'll share some of the Twitter handles from the other people who will be there, so that everybody can follow along. So I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a fun day. It'll be 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but it'll be a fun day.
Yeah, we're definitely. When we get there tomorrow, we'll find out who's there. We find out what their Twitter handles are. Our goal, we're hoping, is to put people at different locations so we'll get different pictures from different angles of the billboards. And so it won't just be, the same picture from 10 different people. It'll be 10 different pictures from 10 different people. So that's our goal. And you never, until you get down there, you don't really know exactly, we don't know where people are going to be stationed yet, because we'll go like, this looks like a good place, you stand here. and this looks good too. Okay. So we're excited. We think it's going to be a fun time. As Kayla said, for many of us, it's going to be the first time doing anything outside of the house for a while. It is still time.
Yeah.
So I just saw a question in the chat. Are we going to save the live Instagram so that people that can't watch it live can watch it later?
Yes. Well, I don't do Instagram live usually. So if there's like a setting or something I have to check before I do it, let me know. But the plan would be to keep it up so that people can rewatch it. So
can somebody send us instructions on
I know how to go live and start streaming, but I don't know if you have to do anything in particular to make it save. So if anyone is more familiar with Instagram Live than I am, please let me know so that I don't accidentally lose the stream.
I feel like we're super fancy with our Instagram page.
Yeah.
Just our Instagram.
Yeah.
It's sort of like we had Periscope. Like we Periscope the billboard.
Yeah.
Now that's
like, by the way, Periscope no more. Insta TV. Okay. How is Insta TV different from Instagram Live? And we'll talk offline.
Yeah, I was going to say, Anne, reach out to Taylor, tell her how to do that.
And let's talk offline. Please help me.
Somebody said, ask Mel about Instagram Live.
Oh, God, yes. Huh?
Mel is the place to go. All right. Well, we're only 4 minutes over, so I think we've done pretty well. And obviously we covered a lot of ground that wouldn't need to be covered again, but if it's helpful to have like kind of catch-ups like this, where we just are like, this is how we feel and we're still doing it. We're still doing the thing. We're still here.
We still plan on doing hangouts every now and then, just without, and not a lecture hangout like this one sort of was.
We won't have agendas next time.
Right. There'll be no bullet points.
No bullet points. We do have a couple of ideas for some games coming up. That should be pretty fun. So if you liked the ERP debate setup, we've got some stuff like that planned in the future too. So stay tuned for that.
I saw a few folks mention they came in late. Again, use the same link. This was recorded. It'll be there for you to watch later tonight, tomorrow, next week. Share it with other ERPers if they ask you questions. You know, that's the whole point, is that it doesn't have to be just in this moment.
Yes. And I will say a couple of the Homestead Hangouts I made unlisted on YouTube just because of the nature of some of the things we were talking about. So if you have the link to them when I tweeted it out, you can follow that link and rewatch them whenever you like. They're just not going to show up on our YouTube page. We brought people on, and maybe somebody doesn't want that to be up forever. I maybe didn't want it to be up forever. So you can't access those. If you don't have the link and you want to watch it, just let me know. I'll send it to you. But if you see that videos are missing, they're not missing. They're just not on the front page. But this will remain on the front page. So.
And maybe, next Homestead Hangout will, be a little more hangout after dark and less boardroom.
Yeah, the after dark content is going to be privately listed probably for everyone's sake, the sake of my employability. But we'll keep this one up. I think we only dropped 4 F-bombs and 2 were from Kevin, so we did pretty well.
And we're not employed by SciFi, so who cares?
Yeah, we can drop all the F-bombs we want. And there will be churros next time, sure. I don't know if I ride I might ride the subway tomorrow. So if there's any of the churro carts down there, I will make a purchase and I will send everyone a picture.
It'll be churros on Instagram Live.
That's a different app, Lindsay. Churros on Instagram Live.
I'll definitely be getting in the subway. Usually, the station that I'm in, we don't get churros. We get mangoes. We have
mangoes.
Chopped mangoes. Yeah,
that's big around Herald Square too.
Yeah, chopped mangoes.
Yeah, churros I think are more of a downtown thing. In my experience. Sorry, this is being very niche. I'll find some churros and I'll get some pictures out. And Jill can send pictures of her Subway mangoes. They put the hot sauce on top, right?
They usually tell you can choose, the little bag of chopped mangoes, and you can do what you wish with them. Yeah. If they're there tomorrow, I'll get some Subway mangoes and show them people at Bryant Park.
Gosh, we must be emerging out of the pandemic if we're willing to eat Subway food. And maybe I can, whatever weekend plans I get up to that are not in New York City, I'll put on our Instagram. This is Lindsay's boring life. Oh man, good times. All right, I think we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish here.
Keep fighting, keep going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and have fun.
Have fun at it. Yes.
Fun.
Most important F word. And just if we didn't talk about, I do the final push and the lunch rush every day, just because it's kind of a habit at this point. If you guys want me to keep, I'll put out a poll. If you want me to keep doing final push and lunch rush, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a fun reminder when you have your break from work, because usually your lunch rush is when some people take lunch breaks in the end of the day. But if it's too much pressure, then yeah, we're here to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool.
Thanks for joining us all.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, gang.
We'll see you in the Twitter sphere.
Enjoy 109 tonight.
I will. Good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.